In this video, I want to talk about four things that Charlie Kirk did that show you how you can change the world. A lot of people are responding to Charlie's life, to the response to what's happened with Charlie. And many of you know, you see me a lot of times when I'm on social media wearing this hat called Change the World, which is a movement that is built to change the world by multiplying movements that matter. Charlie Kirk built a movement of people that was massive, but beyond the movement that he built, he had 1,000 employees helping him build this movement. And so for me not to mention some of the lessons of what he did so well that I'm learning from and paying attention to as a result of the events of this week. And so I've watched friends and people that I care about right now saying, I want to do something that what's happened to Charlie Kirk, there's a lot of people like, I want to fight, like I want to do something to respond to this. I'm not going to let this happen to me and then do nothing. But I think the question that everyone's asking is, what can I do? And so again, that's why I made this video saying, I want to share with you four important lessons from Charlie Kirk about how you can change the world, how you can join the fight against ideologies that are contrary to what is true. And so let's start with the first one. One thing that you can learn from Charlie Kirk that I think is obvious from the very outset is that Charlie studied and wrestled with challenging ideas to find the truth. He was clearly well studied. And, you know, I could pull up some clips, but you all are seeing clips everywhere of all these smart conversations that Charlie had with students that was helping to shift a cultural belief and cultural mindsets and challenge it. And so if you want to make an impact, if you want to respond, you want to fight back and actually make a difference in the world, it's going to be difficult to do. It's going to be difficult if you haven't already wrestled with the ideas. And that's one thing that we don't see. You don't see Charlie wrestling with the ideas. That happens in private. Oh, I'm talking real good now. That happens in private. And so there has to be a dedication in your heart. If you want to make a significant difference, you have to do the work of wrestling to find out, well, what actually would make a significant difference? And I think what Charlie Kirk understood is that ideas matter. Somebody put that in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Ideas matter. If your kid believes that drugs are just fun and are not going to have an impact on them, ideas matter. If you believe that that marriage has to be perfect and everything has to be perfectly easy in order to stay in a marriage, that's going to have an impact, not just on you, but on your family, because ideas matter, right? If you believe that in Islam, right, and you hold to the ideas and teachings and ideologies of Islam, your culture is going to be massively different than a culture who believes in and holds to the teachings of Jesus. Those are different, and ideas matter. Somebody say ideas matter. I see you coming in here. I see you. And so the question is which ideas are right? And so to find which ideas are right, you have to do the work of going through the wrestling match to determine what is true. And this is taught very clearly by the wisest man who ever lived. I'm pulling up my Bible here, but in Proverbs chapter 2, it says this. It says, chapter 2, verse 3, if you cry out for discernment, if you lift up your voice for understanding, this is the wisest man who ever lived speaking. If you seek her as silver, who's her? Wisdom. And search for her as for hidden treasures. Then, verse 5, you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For it is the Lord who gives wisdom. That's Proverbs chapter 2. You have to seek it. It says like you're seeking for hidden treasure, like you're seeking it as silver. It's not an easy work, and it's not a work that's done in public. Charlie had to do work when he wasn't on the stage, when he wasn't in front of the camera. He had to do the work of seeking wisdom and understanding. For him, he would tell you, from the scriptures, and wrestling with ideas on the basis of that foundational truth in order to have an impact. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding. And so point number one I'd like to make from this is if you're going to change the world, if you're going to be someone of impact, in whatever way you've decided to serve and help humanity, it doesn't have to be politics, right? That's one arena. It doesn't even have to necessarily be religion. That's one arena. However, you do have to wrestle with ideas so that you know you're pointing people to the truth. I think that likely, I don't know the man's heart or his thoughts, but likely the person who shot Charlie Kirk believed that he was doing something glorious. He was naive and stupid enough and conflicted enough or impacted enough by somebody's ideas to believe that somehow by doing wrong, he was doing right. And that's exactly what Satan does. Satan tries to trick us into believing things that are wrong and then aligning our lives with things that are wrong so that he can destroy us. And by the way, the people around us. And that's why, again, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all you're getting understanding. That will require a wrestling match. So if you want to change the world, there's some private work that needs to be done. That's number one. The second thing that I learned, is that good? Give me a scale of 1 to 10. Did you think about that? Because people are asking, what do I do? What do I do? And it's like, first you have to align yourself and do the wrestling match to know that you're aligned with the truth so that you're not espousing things that are harmful or destructive to humanity, like really is exactly what the shooter did. Somewhere along the line, he got deranged. He got tricked. Okay? I'm not making him a victim in this either. I'm just saying he was tricked by false ideologies. Number two, second thing you do that I learned from Charlie Kirk about how you can change the world is this. He learned to communicate ideas powerfully and persuasively. True or false? Like, my guy could say it, right? And when he said it, it was soundbite after soundbite after soundbite after soundbite. He had done the work in private, but there are a lot of people right now, and some of you are feeling it. And by the way, I've been convinced of it and pulled to it too. Some of you know you've done the work. You've got something to say. You have a message that's powerful, but you haven't decided to say it. You haven't decided to say it right. You haven't decided to say it powerfully and persuasively. There's a story in the book of Acts, chapter 18. In the book of Acts, there's a story of a man named Apollos. Have you heard of him? And Acts 18:24 says that Apollos, he's just this random guy who pops up in the story. And it says he was an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures. In verse 28, it says he mightily convinced the Jews and publicly, who's this remind you of, right? Publicly showing by the scriptures that Jesus was Christ. This attracted the apostles to this random person named Apollos, who he didn't have authority. Nobody told him or gave him permission to go out and to speak publicly or to convince people through the scriptures or to be a persuasive person in that area. No one convinced him of doing that. He just decided to do that. And because he decided to do that, he got the attention of very powerful people. Why? Because he spoke well. And so the second lesson that I'm learning about how do I change the world from Charlie Kirk is like, if you're going to do the work of having understanding, then do the work of being able to communicate it powerfully and persuasively. Eileen and I, back in the day, and this book is not for sale, so this is not a plug, but nevertheless, wrote a book a few years ago called $1 Million Speaker, where we learned how to, where we studied the world's greatest speakers to figure out what do they do, how do they say it, how are they saying it, that makes what they say so powerful. And the amazing thing is like they follow a similar framework again and again and again. And so part two of like, okay, how do you change the world, right? How'd Charlie do it? And what should I do and how should I rise up now? Step one, he studied and wrestled with challenging ideas to find the truth. Step two, he learned how to communicate those ideas powerfully and persuasively. Number three, what's the third thing that Charlie Kirk, clearly he's making a difference. Clearly he's made a difference. Clearly everybody recognizes what's going on. What's the third thing that Charlie learned to do that allowed him to have such an impact? And the answer is, he answered the question, how do I get attention? There's a lot of people who are smart, who've done the work and studied, and then they learn to say it, and they could say it really well. You ever met someone who said, man, you're like one of the best kept secrets? That's a terrible thing. I don't ever want to be the best kept secret. What I want to be is an advocate for good and an advocate for truth and an advocate for right, not just in some corner where no one's paying attention. I want to be an advocate where people can see me. Somebody say, see me. You need attention. If you have ideas that actually matter, that can actually help people, and then not to do that, this is the message of Jesus. You are a city set on a hill. You are the light of the world. Which of you takes his candle and puts it under a bushel? Well, those of us who have something to say and have done the work of learning to say that thing well, and then we don't get attention, we are hiding our candle under a bushel. And so how do you get attention? Well, here's a couple ways that I noticed Charlie did it. Number one, he challenged large giants. He took on huge social issues. It reminds me, for example, of David before he was king, the shepherd boy. How did he get the attention of a nation? And the answer is he was willing to fight things other people weren't. Things that were bigger than him. And some of us are too scared. How do I get attention? Have the courage to fight large issues that threaten society, that threaten what God is trying to do in people's lives, and take the risk publicly. Charlie went school to school and literally, like, somebody could have made him look stupid. They were literally challenging him and mocking him and attacking him. And he did the work in private and he learned how to communicate. But come on, you're literally taking on an entire college and didn't have the college degree. He had all the reasons in the world to make an excuse for why he couldn't do it. And I'm just trying to help somebody here who's feeling inspired and feeling moved by Charlie's life and who wants to make a difference and feels called to make a difference. Like, you need to get attention. And the way you get attention is you challenge large issues in whatever arena it is that you're trying to make a difference. That you challenge large issues that are in that, large giants that are in that thing. And when you're willing to stand up to a giant that no one else is willing to stand up to, you'll get attention. And Charlie exemplified that so well. My fourth and last point about some inspiration and important lessons that I got from Charlie Kirk about how we can change the world. For all of you asking, what do we do? Here's number 4. Number 4 is Charlie built media. And you see me talking about this if you're following me. You need a distribution source for your ideas. Period. And how many of you know there's a lot of noise in the world right now? And so Charlie got intentional. He's like, he built YouTube channels and Instagram channels and all the things that you would expect to do. And then 3 hours a day was on there talking. He was all the time communicating to the world about ideas that matter, wrestling with ideas in front of the world that mattered, battling for truth, speaking with conviction and courage and putting the time in. But he needed the distribution channel. And that's my commitment right now. My commitment is to build the largest megaphone I can possibly build. And I hope and pray and expect it's going to be one of the biggest megaphones ever built. But for now, the goal is 100 million subscribers of media. You don't just have to build it. In today's age, you can buy or acquire or partner with media. And that's what I'm doing. I'm bringing communities of people together who feel called, who want to make a difference, who want to grow their business, fight against the things that they're fighting in their business, use the money to impact, whether it's social issues or whatever it is that they care about. Obviously, that I'm not going to support people who are supporting things that I don't align with. Nevertheless, my point is like, whether you know what you want to do or not, if you're making the decision you got to fight, then you're making the decision to get loud. And if you're going to get loud, you need media. And everyone out there is saying build media. But I'm here to tell you that you can use leverage and you can acquire media or partner with media and not build it. You don't even have to be the voice. You could find the voices. You realize that's what people think about. Think about your enemies. Many of us would look at like the evil things that George Soros has pushed in the world for years. Well, it's like, how did he do that? Was George Soros out there talking behind a microphone? No. George Soros bought media. And then he put voices on that media that would be proponents to push the ideas that he wanted to push into culture. Well, the Bible says that Satan is the prince and the power of the air. Well, I'm fighting for the airwaves. And if there's anybody out there who wants to join me and fight for the airwaves and fight to have a voice and to fight to get culture talking about things, that's the kind of thing that Charlie did. And he left an impact that inspires me. And I hope he inspired you too. But to recap, the things I learned from Charlie about how to change the world, how to build a movement that makes an impact, you got to wrestle with challenging ideas to find the truth, because you don't want to advocate for something that's false. Then he learned how to communicate those ideas powerfully and persuasively. Then he learned how to get attention, even when he didn't have distribution. He did that by challenging large, big ideas, by taking personal risk or risk to his own status and reputation every time he got up on the stage. And lastly, he built media. He built distribution channels. So his voice is so huge, millions and millions. That's how we all know who Charlie Kirk is, right? He had such huge media channels. It's like, are you going to play small or are you going to play big? Are you going to make a big difference or are you going to make a little difference? If you want to change the world, you need big distribution channels to get your ideas out, because ideas matter. Truth matters. It's the beginning of everything. So those are my thoughts for today. I hope they're helpful for you. In summary, I hear a lot of people asking the question, what do I do to change the world? Well, the very person who inspired you to do this showed us the way. It's time to get loud, and it's time for the people of God to rise up, not with guns and pitchforks or battles, but there are ideas that we've been given. They're not our own. They were given to us in the Word of God. And it's time for us to fight, to be vocal change agents in culture, to lead the way in culture, and to be a representative of the King and his kingdom, because we understand the ideas and the truths that his word has given us, which is a gift to us, and we communicate them powerfully, and we get attention to those ideas by, like King David, attacking giant issues in culture, and then being brave enough to take the personal risk to ourselves and build distribution channels and media that can get these ideas out and make the world talk about the important issues, so that Satan doesn't distract them with his lies that are destructive to the world. I hope you're fighting. And if you haven't started fighting, let's rise up and let's be who God called us to be. And yes, thank you, Charlie Kirk, for your inspiration. We appreciate you. God bless you, everyone. Scrap the model. Change the world.